Good evening. I am Wilson Parasiuk. I'm going to talk more about quality of life from an aggregate perspective and what our place in the world is. Canada ranks very well in quality of life and healthcare indicators in the world. We rank so in relation to a group of developed peer countries like the Nordic and original common market European countries and Japan, Australia, and New Zealand, which provide a significant type of universal health care to its citizens, as we do. Canada is in the middle of this group of developed peer countries. We spend 10.7% of our GDP, or economic pie, on health care. This is about $219 billion in 2015, or $6,100 per Canadian. About 70% of the spending is publicly funded, 30% is privately funded. Now, Canada's healthcare spending is dramatically less than that in the United States. The US spends about twice as much per capita. If we spend $6,000, they're spending $12,000. But their health outcomes are worse than ours in 12 categories, with the exception of one disease. I think we make a big mistake in looking south of the border so much. I'm much more interested in comparing ourselves to systems like ours on an apples-to-apples basis and not on an apples-to-pumpkin basis. We do well, and we do so in a measured manner, which is not profligate. That should give us a lot of confidence for being able to do more. Our major areas of healthcare spending are in hospitals and staff, physicians, and drugs. These are the main areas of analysis, discussion, debates, and negotiations as governments try to maintain quality care and meet evolving needs where there is a lot of delegation to private nonprofit entities like hospitals and to private health practitioners like doctors and related entities like laboratories, and where there are powerful, well-regarded interests like doctors and nurses. The process of allocating funding to healthcare needs is part rational, part negotiation, part politics, in a sector that is very, very sensitive to public opinion. This process isn't easy, but I don't want to be too critical of the participants by pointing figures and forgetting how successful we have been since we first brought Medicare and universal health care coverage into this country in 1968. We have a good foundation and a track record to face challenges. And I believe our healthcare system faces two big challenges. The first big challenge is to come to grips with the various needs of First Nations communities on the reserves or on traditional lands, and the needs of First Nations people in cities and towns. This entails more than healthcare funding, as Evan pointed out. For example, secure water and sanitation are cutting into healthcare and outcomes, but this is not part of healthcare funding. I've been following efforts to catalog this in Northern Ontario, and the UN has sent a group out, and I believe that they will be reporting to the public quite critically in about 4 days. These are huge challenges. There are no easy answers, but I think the timing is right for us to take that on. I think there's a collective will to do so, and we can indeed afford it. We should not back away from it. We can do things well. We should be proud of ourselves and confident in our ability to do this. The second big challenge is the aging of our population, especially in the large demographic cohort of people born between 1946 and 1965, known as the baby boomers. Now, many were housed in temporary trailers and schoolyards when they went to school. We won't house this cohort in ACTO trailers as they age. It has been said that the baby boomer generation isn't just a huge group of people, it's a huge group of people with attitude. So, we have a political process for setting our priorities. And I think that the baby boomers are going to help us get to a better healthcare system. The points that Kelly raised have to be brought to attention. And we tend to be quite timid. We tend to be quite timid in thinking that we can act. I don't know why we become so timid when we rank so well with other countries and are so well regarded by other countries. We shouldn't panic about getting ready for the extra demands of preparing for people living longer and dealing with big demographic cohorts. We have the tools, we have the talent, and we have the experience, and we are working hard to build more capacity. There's one further consideration. We're going through a technological revolution with robots for many purposes, driverless cars, trucks, buses. This is going to lead to very, very high levels of employment. Indeed, a number of serious people in the academic community, the business community, and other communities are talking about reviving what we tried in Manitoba, in Dauphin, in the 70s, and that's a guaranteed annual income. They call it universal basic income. The pluses of that experiment outweighed the minuses. Now, some form of basic income will be needed to maintain levels of income and consumption and circulation of money. But in this context, what's wrong with more healthcare workers providing vital, necessary care and service to our own population? Healthcare as a percentage of our economy will go up, but our quality of life will go up as well. This will require political will, arising from discussion and debate amongst the population, various interest groups, and political parties to get consensus. That's how we've been successful in the past. That's how we'll be successful in the future. And frankly, this is not a bad way to run a healthcare system. Thank you.